Rakshit avre, Hemanth avre, namaskara. Chennagidira.
Super.
Okay. So, like I said, this is a new segment where we'll be talking to filmmakers about their favorite filmmakers. Before getting to filmmakers, I want to know from you guys, what's the earliest movie watching memory that you have from your childhood?
Earliest?
Yeah, or the most impressionable memory from your childhood while watching a film?
I think for me it is Ram Lakhan, Anil Kapoor.
Huh.
I was a huge fan of Anil Kapoor. I remember dancing to his one
My
two
name
ka
is
four ek
Rakshit.
do teen, all that. So yeah, that whole series, Madhuri Dixit and Anil Kapoor. Yeah.
In theater or on TV?
No, theater. I mean, those days, all films used to come like 4-5 months late to theaters in Udupi. So, theater, going to theater was, we used to have VCRs. So, bring pirated cassettes and watch it. Obviously, we didn't know what is piracy then.
Yeah.
But that's how we used to watch films. Theater, I believe, I think it was this one, Ramachari.
Okay.
That was Ravichandran sir's film. I was in 3rd standard, that I remember. I'm sure I would have watched before that also, but I don't have clear memory of that.
Okay. You, Hemanth?
For me, I think I remember this very clearly because it's a very unique experience going to the theatre for the first time, especially when you are at an age when you start developing memories. So there's a theatre in Mysore called Sterling Theatre. I used to stay in Mysore then. So my father, Sterling Theatre played only English films.
Oh, okay.
That was what it was famous for. So my father had taken me to the theatre. It was an evening show. So when we left home, it was bright and sunny. Okay, so I went and I think we went to see He-Man. He-Man, or I forget the name of the film. Like that I'm a little fuzzy about. But I saw the film and after I came out, and Mysore is a very, back then at least, I don't know if I can say that now, to a large extent is probably is like that now also. It is a very sleepy town in the sense that by 8 o'clock everybody will shut shop and go home. So when we came out of the theatre, I think around 8:30 or so, everything was changed. It had rained and the shutters were closed, and I was like, it felt like I had gone off
To a different
to
world.
the other universe. And that I think was a very, very strong impression in my mind in terms of wanting that more, like wanting to go away to another world. And those visuals were very spectacular because of the CG and advanced CG at that point of time, I suppose. I was completely blown over. It felt like somebody put their hands in my brain and did that. So that was my first experience. First Kannada film I remember was I think in 3rd or 4th standard was was a Kannada film called Ush, directed by Upendra.
Yeah, I heard about that film. Yeah.
It was one of those campy horror slash mystery films. So yeah.
Okay. So, see, a lot of people that I talk to and a lot of filmmakers that not just filmmakers, but my friends, and when we talk about our childhood and our experience and when this fascination for the stage, when this fascination for the medium started, one common point that most of them say is that when you got fascinated with the medium, you are not quite aware of the people behind it. Okay, that somebody wrote the story, that somebody put the camera. We might not be aware of the behind the scenes process that makes sure that the image is projected. So, do you guys remember when you got exposed to behind the scenes, learning that okay, there is a person called director, there is a person called cinematographer? Do you guys remember that phase?
In the sense, for me, it was at a very early stage because my brother is like, he's 6 years older to me. So he used to follow all that. In the sense, he used to read filmfare magazines and stuff like that, which probably when I was in when I was 4 years old, he was 10. So and he used to explain that he used to show me pics and he used to tell me that that if you're an actor, then you get to wear 5-6 clothes in one song.
Yeah.
And so I was curious that, and I was crazy about dressing up at that age. I still remember, because if we had to go to a function, I'm like, I need to see all the options, and then I'm going to select one and dress. So I remember getting fascinated by the idea of you get to wear 5-6 clothes for only 5 minutes song, and you get to take it home. So I decided that I wanted to be an actor then. So that was my first any knowledge about behind the camera.
Do you take your costumes home? Since you're the producer also anyway.
No, the kind of costumes they make me wear.
He doesn't want to take it home.
But in your filmography, was there one costume or a prop that you were so fascinated with that you wanted to take? Maybe that pistol or...
No, like for example, in Kirik Party, whatever I've worn, I've taken everything home. At least the first half, the whole, all the costumes. In fact, I gave every actor, we used to give, take your costumes. Yeah.
Super. You, Hemanth?
For me, I think it was very late. For a long time, I just saw films like, I was very invested in the cinema experience of just going to the theatre and being completely, immersed in that. I think when I started doing engineering, when I started asking myself, okay, we're growing up, so what is it that you actually want to do? Like, do you want to get a job? And that when those sort of life questions started, dawning on me.
Life questions started in engineering itself?
Very late. Very late, because I realized that when I started engineering, I realized that this is something I don't want to do. So I was like, okay, one option is off. So, but I somehow have to finish. So I discovered a lot of my desire to write then. So I wanted to write, and I used to chumma write. I used to read a lot. So I gravitated towards writing, and at the same time I was getting interested in photography, and I just felt very good about myself, because in engineering I kept constantly feeling like I am unfit for anything in life. So it was like a very a phase in my life where I was very underconfident, and I was not feeling good about myself. So when I started realizing that I could do something creatively, it was very validating for my own self-confidence. And I just went in that direction, and that's how I discovered cinema in a big way.
Okay. I was watching a previous interview of his, and he said something very interesting. He said that only when I was writing, I felt that I'm valuable. When I'm not writing anything, I felt like I was good for nothing.
Yeah, I still feel that way.
Hey, come on, you have already proved.
No, it's not that. It's, see, every person, there's a very beautiful sequence in a film called Secret in Their Eyes, where one of the characters talks about the passion, like les passion is, I think, the pronunciation, if I'm not mistaken. It's a beautiful sequence there where they figure out where a particular character will end up being, and how he'll be there because of one thing, and it is passion, right? So for me, what I feel was very nicely portrayed in that film, because you need to have that, right? Otherwise, for me, waking up in the morning and feeling like there is no purpose is it's a very difficult feeling to take. So writing gives me that.
Wow, and Secret in Their Eyes kind of spoke to you.
That way, yes.
Okay.
It's a thriller, it's a murder mystery, but it's an extremely personal film.
Okay.
Yeah.
Actually, are there any films for you that spoke to you personally during, different phases of your life? Sometime a film that that you could relate to.
I think for me, more than the films, it was Malgudi days, because I've grown up in that kind of
Milieu.
If you come to Udupi, or now it has become a town, but when I was a kid, the way Udupi was, it looked more like Malgudi.
Okay.
Like if I go to my grandmom's house and all, it's just beautiful.
Even the characters, I think.
Yeah, even the characters. I mean, I think Malgudi had characters who are like when they mention that they have to go to Madras, right? So so somewhere it's like probably 3-4 hours drive from Madras. So it's a village, yet it's like that 10 years or 20 years down the line it is going to be a town. It is that kind of a village. There is a circle in between in the middle of the village, and that's where like 4-5 people from different houses they'll come and chit chat in the evening,
Right.
and then they go back to their place. So all this setup, I think that spoke to me more than any films.
Okay. Now, wow, that's very interesting. Hemanth, like you have been very vocal about your admiration for French New Wave and how Truffaut's films, unkeyed, opened a whole new different world for you. How did getting exposed to the French New Wave and the films of Mr. Truffaut change your perspective towards cinema?
See, I didn't know what cinema is. After I got out of engineering, I just knew that I was very interested in films. So, and I kept watching your regular, films that release every week. Kannada films, I used to watch every single film that releases, literally like what you do, but without the review part. I used to go watch night, especially the last show, with a friend of mine who's in the US. His name is Manoj. So the two of us used to do only this. So at that point of time, I was like, I had experiences of some films moving me deeply. And for me, it's like, I'm the kind of a person who, if I happen to find a song that I really like, then I will find the entire discography of that artist. Then I'll try and see what are the other songs that I like. It's like going on a treasure hunt in a way. So for me, cinema was also like a treasure hunt, and I had a lot of time because after engineering, I didn't have a job. I was not getting any good work. So I was watching a lot of films. So there is a place in Bangalore called Suchitra Film Society, which is like the cinephiles' paradise.
250 rupees per month, film club.
250 rupees you pay and you get to watch more than 20 films from all parts of the world. And I was like, purely as an economic decision, it was like 250 rupees, you get to watch 15 films. Super. I didn't even bother to check what kind of films. So one day I just blindly walked in and I sat, and it just so happened to be a Truffaut retrospective. So the first film that they played is 400 Blows. So I saw 400 Blows and I was like, I have never seen something like this. It is so different to what we see, but I felt very moved, very connected to that kid. I felt like that kid, right? So in many ways, because I felt like I was lost and I was
nobody's
understanding me yet, It's that age. So I just instantly, huge connection happened, and then I reverted to finding all the films and started watching, and then I was like, oh, like us, there are other people who make films all around the world. Then I found out about Trivandrum Film Festival, and I made it a habit to go every year in December to Trivandrum. This
is IFFK?
Yeah.
Okay,
Like it became a thing where I go like on a slightly meditative journey, just take a room and just watch morning, afternoon, evening, night films from different parts of the world. And that was a very beautiful experience for me as a filmmaker. I think I started, moving towards wanting to be a filmmaker because of that.
Oh, wow. Oh, wow. I'll get back to this, but I want to ask a similar question to Rakshit. So, what was your exposure to world cinema like, and how did it change your perspective towards the medium?
Towards world cinema, to be frank, until I came to Bangalore, it was not that. I mean, I've watched films like Pulp Fiction, all that.
Star movies, HBO.
Yeah. No, in the sense when I was doing my engineering, probably because I was staying in the hostel.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so all the cult Hollywood films,
DVDs, the popular.
Yeah, popular ones I used to watch. But then, in terms of any other language, like French films and all, I had no idea about. I think when I came to Bangalore and when I was doing theatres, that's when I started hearing people talking about films, which is like, oh, where are these from, kind of a feel. And then
same feeling. Even I also.
And my first film director, Arvind Kaushik, he was a huge film buff. He's from Bangalore. So he's watched these films right from the age of 15, 16 only.
Oh, I'm so jealous of people like them.
I know.
Yeah.
And I mean, his choice of films were, I was fascinated by the idea of that this guy is a filmmaker. I've still not done even a short film until then. And this guy is right now going to direct a film. He had directed a trailer which, people started comparing him to Ram Gopal Varma and all during those days, especially when the trailer came out. So I was completely fascinated by him, and I wanted to know that how does he do what he does. And he always, every time we meet, we used to only talk about films, because I wanted to learn. And his choice was like, what's that? Natural Born Killers. So these are the films, they are not mainstream
Not at all.
cinema. But his choice were like that. And he used to give me like 3-4 lists of films. He used to give me a hard disk only, which had like all the films, like 300-400 films. And then he used to give me that today you watch these 4 films. And I used to watch, and so I took some time to understand that what is in this that he's liking, first of all. Because I am fascinated by the idea of somebody liking natural born killers. Because personally, if you ask me, I mean, today I would enjoy it because I know the few nuances of filmmaking. But then I was a general audience who has watched DDLJ, who has watched Kabhi Khushi Kabhi Gum. Those are my favorite films, not Pulp Fiction, not
Totally relate.
Yeah. So I think during that phase, because I was fascinated by this guy, and I started watching these films from his perspective. And after watching the film, like when I used to sit with him, he used to tell me that why he liked few things there, and he had watched all the interviews of all the filmmakers. He had read books, things like that, and then that fascination actually shifted to me in a lot of ways, because until then I just wanted to be an actor. I didn't want to be
okay.
I had no idea that I wanted to be a filmmaker until then. It was only during that phase of my life when I used to go and act in my friends' short films, and I realized that that they are not writing good characters. That's when I started writing, and because I was this guy was kind of, he was not training me, but I got trained in some of the other way. And because of that, and I started looking at cinema from his perspective, and I started writing. And that's when I started enjoying the process of writing, and the whole idea of filmmaking. And there is one more guy called K. Srinivas from my theatre background. He was I can call him my theatre guru. So his ideas of how he perceives cinema. So he was he used to watch all films. He's like a big Akira Kurosawa buff.
Oh, wow.
Also Girish Kasaravali, that kind of films. He used to love that kind of films, and I loved his perspectives too, because he Arvind Kaushik and K. Srinivas both are poles apart in terms of the kind of human beings they are, the kind of personalities they are. Yet when it comes to cinema, both are similarly passionate, but their choice of films are very different again.
Okay.
And I loved both the choices, because I admired both of them. This guy as a filmmaker, this guy as a theatre artist, and how this guy is a complete commercial filmmaker. He perceives artists as they are commercial, popular faces. So for him, they are the artists in India, at least. Although when it comes to world cinema, he had different choices. But in India, for him it was like, okay, Amitabh Bachchan is the biggest star. Here, when I'm doing films, I need a big star to do a film. That kind of a guy. Srinivas was more of who is a better actor. For him, Nasruddin Shah is the biggest star. Girish Kasarwalli is the best director. Obviously, he is. But I'm saying the perspectives. And since I admired both of them, for me, I think I mixed both the ideas and then I gave my touch to it.
That actually makes sense with the kind of films that you are often associated with.
True, very true, very true. Because I look at films like as an artist, what kind of an artist I want to be. I am definitely inspired from Keshri, but I understand the commercial aspects too.
Yeah, that's because you're making, say something like Sapta Saagaradaache Ello, you're not making it for a niche audience, or it's not an esoteric art film, but it's made for a wide audience, and you're pitching it to a wide audience. Ideally in any other industry, so I'm not blaming or something, a very intense film like this would not be considered a a big scale epic film, but you are pitching it for everyone, means you're blending both the commercial and the artistic aspects of it. That's lovely. Now, see, I want to learn this from you guys, and I'm pretty sure people who are trying to discover world cinema, I mean, it has become much easier. I mean, like, I've heard you say that you would have 40, 50 Swedish films, and now you're so jealous of, you hold them in such value that when there are like hundreds of Swedish or films on Netflix, you feel like, oh my god, I used to toil to get those 40 films. Now everything has become accessible, right? There's Mubi, there's Criterion, there's Netflix, but there is accessibility, but we are also spoiled for choice. And when there is this difference in taste, like Rakshit, you said, like, you would watch DDLJ, you would watch the big scale popcorn films, and when you get to see something like Natural Born Killers or a 400 Blows, there is some distance between us and the art, right? Because we are used to a particular film.
Right.
How do we overcome that difference? Because I often, like, I still find a lot of these acclaimed films difficult to sit through. So how do we overcome that, and how do we bypass that and discover more films?
See, I think with regard to you're speaking from a larger audience perspective, I'm guessing. So from a larger audience perspective, I think for me, cinema is a very personal thing, right? It's like the thing about it is that we as filmmakers don't have too much control in terms of how the audience taste is evolving with time and choice. The problem today is like you said rightly, is the populace of cinema in front of you and so easily available. So it's very easy to say this is good, this is bad, or this is, it's faster, it's this, and it's like there are more people tailoring cinema
according to our taste,
and making cinema into content, right? And delivering it to our doorstep. So there is an algorithm that is reading us and saying, okay, these persons only watch thrillers, so we'll give them only thrillers. So even the platform starts making films because they are like, I hear meetings, I go to, when I talk to platforms, when they show interest in creating content, creating films, they'll be like, do you have something in the romantic space? Because that is what is working today. So there is a read on everything. So it's very difficult. What you can continue to do is try and stick on to your sensibilities and make the kind of films that you are completely, invested in and with as much conviction as possible. And for me, to do Sapta in today's world itself,
it's an achievement.
Is a very big victory for us. Because when we started out, I couldn't have mounted this film, 10 years ago, 15 years ago. And if it wasn't for him, I don't think I would have been able to mount this film for another 10 years. You require a certain kind of careless abandon to make a film like this.
A madness.
Absolutely. And it is amazing that it has worked the way it has worked, which gives us, it's like birds with extra set of wings now. So we can tell stories in different ways. And I think as long as you make cinema and films that are you know, that speak a certain way to the audience, it'll always, you know, there is no, it cannot be bought.
Yeah.
Right? You can't buy a ticket for an experience which will stay with you for 5 years, right? 6 years. It will be like I can just close my eyes, and there is a scene in Namesake where Irfan Khan says at the end of the film, where they walk to the pier and they take out the camera, and he says about the camera, like I get teary-eyed just thinking about it. That is etched in my mind.
Right.
There is no value. Like I could have paid $1,000. That memory is still so powerful, right? So I think that as long as cinema can do that, then we just.
Wow. I think in this film called Mank, in David Fincher's Mank, there is this line that the studio executive says that
Beautiful. Yeah.
cinema is probably the only business
Where the user does not know.
does not get anything, and you as the seller still own the product.
But you don't know what you're selling.
Yeah, and you are giving them what they get is only an experience.
Yeah, yeah.
You are selling them just a feeling. I think that's beautiful. And him speaking about, you know, the availability of content and, you know, the plethora of films available. Rakshit, you are a Quentin Tarantino fan. And one of the reasons that you said you like Quentin Tarantino is because he derives a lot from the 80s and 70s kind of films that you grew up watching with.
That he derives it from what he grew up
from
watching.
what he grew up with. You
But
are
I
also
connect to the idea.
Yeah, connect to the idea. My question is, I'm sure we all have a lot of influences, right? You have your favorite films, you have your favorite actors, you have your favorite Truffaut, you have the Godard. Despite these influences, how do we stay original without letting them influence you? Does it come from observation or?
See, I believe for any artist, you know, when he starts there, you need inspirations. You know, but when you are inspired, obviously there are, you know, most of the times, obviously, although you are telling your story, there are a lot of things you'll get it. You would want to imitate what you are inspired from also, or you want to give some kind of a credit. Like in Ulidaru Kannante had, you know, mentioned Scarface or all that. But at one point, there comes a time when you actually realize the artist inside you. Like what am I? You know, what do I want to express to the world? And that takes some time, because it comes with with experience. It comes with life lessons also, because you can express something to the world only once you realize something. And for that realization, you need some kind of you know, some kind of an experience. So so I believe every artist has to will start with you know, what he's inspired from. But at one point he'll find himself, and then then after that the beautiful journey starts. Until then, he was still setting up his platform for what he can do next. He was still gaining an experience. But once he does that, then his true expression starts coming out.
I think you have found
from now on that is what I want to do. I keep saying that, you know, I've come a full circle, because I believe that like all the inspirations are done, but I want to say a few things now.
Right. Wow.
And it is not, for example, I want to do mythological films. Now, not because I was inspired by mythology, obviously I am, but I want to tell it in my way. And I want to put, for example, when I'm doing Richard Anthony, I know a lot of people have loved the character Richie, but now Richie has a lifelong journey. Now, where do I get that journey from? That journey, I can only imitate my journey. My journey of, you know, last 40 years, I have to put it on Richie. Although story I can set up, but the internal journey, you know, what I have learned from life, how do I express that? So that is, I've done that in Ulidaru Kannante too, because I remember when I made Ulidaru Kannante, my perspective was that nobody is right, nobody is wrong. You know, it's just he has a different mind, I have a different mind, you have a different mind. You will think from your perspective, I'll think from my perspective, he'll think from his perspective. I might say that you're wrong, but that is my perspective, and from your perspective, it might be different. So if I put myself in your shoes, then what is wrong and what is right? So that was the idea when I wrote Ulidaru Kannante. But now I have also realized that few perspectives also come from greed. Few perspectives also come from jealousy,
manipulation.
So now you can't say that he's right from his perspective. No, he's not right. He's convincing himself that he's right. So now I understand all that ideas even more deeper. And how do I express it? Then I had a lot of inspirations to express my ideas. I had watched Rashomon, all that. But now probably I don't need those inspirations. I have worked 10 years in film industry, and I know enough about films that I can create. I have seen other filmmakers also. I have seen Hemanth, how he thinks while directing. Although he doesn't talk about it too much, but as I'm there as he's shooting, I see things. I have seen Kiran Raj, who's got completely different background. He's only he finished his 10th standard, and then he's worked in a bar as a waiter, and then he's worked as a salesman, and then that guy comes to Bangalore and makes a film.
And wins a national award.
And he wins a national award. The kind of film he has made is very different from the kind of film what Hemanth has made. But for the background, what Hemanth has, for the background what Kiran Raj has, both, if you look at from that perspective, both films are just beautiful the way it is because of the filmmakers, not just because of the film, because of the filmmaker, the one who is telling the story. You actually, if you watch Kavaludari, Godibana Saranamekattu and Sapta Saagaradaache, Ello, Side A and Side B, you will know what is Hemanth actually. You can start, not completely, but
how much he cares for people and the interpersonal dynamics.
In a certain way, you know Hemanth Rao. You know the story, and you know the person who has done made the film also, right? So I find that very beautiful, and that is because of it is their expression which is coming across. So probably from here I would want to start that. I've done that, but not like to the 100%. The inspirations, you can see what I'm inspired from. But
From now on, the things that you will do, people will be inspired from them. That's the goal.
That people are already.
That's already. Oh sure. I'm not discrediting what you have done so far, but
I see there is some difference for sure. You can't take your inspirations completely out and throw it probably, because why do you get inspired from something? You see something there which is touching you, which is you also. Oh, even I'm that. That is where you get inspired from. Otherwise, probably even if you see the best of best products, and if your expression doesn't match with that expression, then probably you won't get inspired by it. You might just appreciate it, but you won't get inspired by it. You get inspired because you are actually seeing yourself through that filmmaker. If I had made a film, then probably I would have made it that way. That is because of that, it becomes my inspiration.
Wow. I forgot what I was supposed to ask because you were talking so passionately and I was listening to you. Do you share similar thoughts?
Yeah, for sure. In the sense that, see, when you are young and you're trying to find your own personality as to what you like, what you gravitate towards, and that is the first impulse. You will know that you like something, but you won't know why you like it. That comes with time, that comes with introspection, that comes with understanding of self. Where more you understand yourself, you will understand why is it that you are gravitating towards a certain kind of film. And your artistic choices start mirroring those. So you start out, see, all of us as kids, when they ask us to draw, all of us will draw a hill, a sun and a house. Right now, the greatest of artists who evolve from there, only thing is they start maintaining a certain discipline to that craft. to themselves and to that craft. There's a very beautiful relationship that develops between the medium and them. And as with time, you start trying to be truer to that version. So you realize that when you write a scene, because you consume a lot of films, I don't believe that when somebody says, especially when young people say, it's a very original film. You have never seen anything like this. When I see a younger, dumber version of me in that person when they say that. Because I am like, boss, I have been in your shoes.
You also thought that, okay,
See, because everybody is a subject of their influence. I come from a certain family background, because of which I'm influenced and I see the world a certain way. So the lens itself from which I'm looking is tainted, right? So until unless somebody is made to stay in a blank room with white walls for 10 years and then they come out and you give them a sketch pen and say, make a drawing, that is an original thought, because there is no influence. But if you are living amid society, then whatever you do, there will be influence, either through music or, and it's a beautiful thing that you are inspired by something. But there is a fine line that an artist has to find, where you have to know if it is coming from a place of, doing it because it's nice or doing it because you're inspired by it. I think that maturity comes with time. I think, sometimes people cross that line and then realize that can also happen. So it is as long as you're on that process, I think, like he said, you will find your voice. It's about finding your voice.
Trust me, this conversation, at least so far now, it's going to be therapy for all the aspiring filmmakers or writers who are having a writer's block. So coming to actually the thing about filmmakers, who would you say, like Rakshit, I know your list. I'll start with Hemanth and then come to you. Which filmmakers influenced you the most, or you would say, who are your favorite filmmakers?
For me, the films that Shankar Nag sir and Anand Nag sir made during the early eras, like it was almost like a alternate film industry that they parallel in the sense that they were doing very interesting kind of work. And this is much later, after I got into films, is when I started seeing their work, because it was much before me. So that work and Puttana Kangal in Kannada, their work really was, it spoke to me because it was commercial, but it was also, it had a story, it had a, arc, and it was it felt personal also at the same time. So I was like, this can be done, where you can tell a story, but it was with a certain voice. So that was very important for me, here, locally speaking. And outside for me...
No, before going outside, I want to learn more about Mr. Shankar Nag. Unfortunately, I haven't had a chance to discover him. I was talking to Gautam Ramachandran, the director of Gargi, and he told me that this Minchina Ota is a film that has influenced him tremendously. So, and Rakshit, you said that Mr. Shankar Nag made around 40 films as an actor in a span of 11 years.
40 films as an actor,
11 films as a director, 40 episodes of Malgudi. That's crazy. So, one hypothetical question, guys. Do you think his presence would have, steered Kannada cinema in a different direction?
For sure. No doubt, no. I mean,
at least the parallel world would have continued.
Yeah. As in, during the 90s, there was a hard break on those kind of films because of a lot of, real estate money coming into the business and a lot of remakes being made and all that. So, I think it would have blossomed even more, for sure, because the kind of attitude that they had, there was a certain kind of, we want to do it this way, like when you examine it in hindsight, it feels unreasonable to go and make those films. Like he made a film called Idu Sadhya. I'm very bad with titles, but the film happens in one night.
Okay.
And there were so many things like that he wanted to do. Like I've heard stories from production managers where he would get the camera crew and just shoot for 2 days. Whenever they get tired, they stop. And that kind of filmmaking is, it's like unheard of.
I mean, in today's world, practically with the call sheets and all.
So it was like a rolling call sheet. They were constantly shooting.
He had a personal team.
Yeah.
Like 25, 30 of them probably was in his team who would come from a theatre background, who was always with him, who always wanted to make, they didn't care about, how much are you going to pay me, all that. For them it was like, theatre also we are doing it for free, let's do films.
And somebody like Anand sir was he had a certain presence in the market, so he would shoot 2 reels of a film just so that he can bring a producer casually. Like, this is something that he has told me. He would casually bring them to the dubbing studio and make them watch that. Happens to be playing in the background types. The producer is like, what is this film? He's like, no, we started one film, we are looking for, I'll produce it. I was like, okay, you can produce it. So he used to do this so that he could get, somebody else to come and finish the film. And so those kind of things in that time is a very beautiful thing, right? That would have, of course, blossomed and definitely made the industry more, break out more, I think. So growing out, I would say then when I discovered, when I saw Jurassic Park for the first time, I was like, who is this? What has he done? As an experience, but as a filmmaker, when I went back and saw Spielberg, I was amazed at how he could do everything. Like, he could do an action film, he could do a very emotional piece like Schindler's List. So that, and for me, one of my biggest influences, of course, apart from Truffaut, is Scorsese, because of how he manages to make you go into the character's mind. Like, I'm the character.
Like literally, you hear what they are thinking.
So when I watched Casino, when I watched Mean Streets, when I watched Taxi Driver, specifically Taxi Driver, and Raging Bull, 2 films that had a huge influence on me, I was like, for 2-3 days after the film, I was a protagonist.
Travis Bickle.
It's like I could hear Travis Bicker's mind voice. Like, I was forming thoughts in my head, and I was like, wow, it's a certain kind of madness that he brings. So those have been like massive influences. But of course there are other, like Brian De Palma is a very big filmmaker that I really like. Because
why do you like him? If you could elaborate.
Brian De Palma, because of the use of craft. Like, if you look at the composing of shots, there is I forget the name of the film again. There's a very the shot is a close-up of a rail. It's one of those slightly psychological thriller films with a secret killer. So the whole film is about who the killer is. I know the name. I see the shot in front of me, but I'm not able to tell you the name. So there is like a railing or something. There's a hand with a leather glove that comes and you see his hand and he pulls the leather glove like this. The camera moves up and at a distance there is a house. And in a matter of 2 seconds, a hooded figure enters the house. So he was here.
Okay.
You lift the camera and he's there. Like, instantly, you're like, wait, he was right here. How did he get there? Like, that is just cinematic trickery. There is a dupe artist here. There is another guy there. But the emotional response that it creates for the viewer, with the musical underlining that moment. For me, Brian De Palma was like his films show how you can manipulate the craft to make you feel a certain way. Like, that was very, 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 very evident in his films, and that is very evident in most horror films. I think the best way to learn filmmaking is to examine horror films, because it is all about craft. Because the jump scare can land only if you compose it in a certain way, if you cut it in a certain way. So those are some of the influences.
Yeah, and this statement makes a lot of sense, because horror films judgment, you make a judgment of it instantly.
Correct.
It's not like a drama, right? It's not like a drama. You have time to ponder. you can go home, ponder, okay, maybe I like that character, maybe what that character did is right or wrong. You have that liberty in a drama. In horror, if the jump scare doesn't land for you, that means it just
Yeah, the
fell
film
flat.
stops there.
Yeah.
Yeah, as in
Wow.
it'll end up becoming a comedy. Like if you actually notice even from a very technical perspective, the stunt masters, dance masters, are the most craft-oriented people because they understand, how to cut from one shot to another. Even action, actually, if you examine action, you'll really learn filmmaking very quickly. Like,
Wow.
but again, the storytelling aspect of it is very nuanced. That comes, that is not easy to get.
Maneuver. What are some of your favorite horror films? You can also add in.
I like the Japanese horror genre as such.
Please drop some requests for us.
The Ring,
Yeah.
Juan it's called. There is a
Okay.
Thai film called Shutter, which I really like. These
It
are
was
all
remade so many times.
yeah,
in
yeah,
India.
It's remade so much now that it's like I don't like it.
Yeah.
It's got it to that point. But for me, I really like moody horror films like there's a very famous film called Possession.
Oh.
With
Possession.
the very famous
2012?
actress. No, this is a very old film. It's got very gorgeous actress. I forget her name.
You can Google. Yeah.
Possession. Then Let the Right One In.
Let the right one in. Okay.
Let the Right One In is a Swedish horror film about a vampire girl and a boy and their relationship. It's beautiful.
Okay. You, Rakshit, favorite horror films?
I'm not a huge fan of horror films. I enjoy watching it, but not like, for example, the way I like Goodfellas or the way I like Scarface. I cannot like horror films like that. But there are few. I mean, The Ring, as you said, or Shining.
Shining is actually
Yeah,
can be
or
like
can
a
be,
horror
yeah,
film.
huh.
Yeah.
There are very few.
Okay. Well, let's come to you. And how did you discover Tarantino? Or your favorite 5 filmmakers are Tarantino, Christopher Nolan.
Martin Scorsese.
You didn't say Martin Scorsese.
No,
in that
I love
Yeah.
Akira Kurosawa. I love
Akira Kurosawa.
Martin Scorsese. I love
Kashyap.
Anurag Kashyap.
Anurag Kashyap and Mr. Upendra. I think we have spoken enough about.
Upendra I like for different reasons.
Why is that?
In the sense, when Upendra made films, especially those, Om, or especially A and Upendra, these two films, I think I was in a certain age, and I think he tried to give a lot of philosophical messages and all, but then at that age, more than that, the kind of characters he played, the kind of character
Eccentricity.
So that was crazy. But but if you ask me, my favorite filmmakers, I think it will be more of Shankar Nag sir, because from there I'm inspired to make films. Like Malgudi Days is something which stays in my mind all the time. Even if I do a proper mass commercial film also, I would want to keep scenes which is very rooted to that land because of Malgudi Days, or rooted to Udupi, Mangalore if I place there, or I want to go to Udupi, Mangalore again and again because of Malgudi Days. There is so much to explore from that land. And but otherwise, Martin Scorsese, Quentin Tarantino, Christopher Nolan. I love Darren. What's
Darren
Aronofsky.
His initial the Requiem for a Dream.
Fountain.
Fountain. Oh, Fountain is. But it's not commercial. You can't make
Yeah, it was like that.
But
at all.
yeah, or that Black Swan.
Black Swan. Yeah, Mother more recently.
I have not watched Mother. Last 4-5 years, I have not watched many
It's a
films.
very trippy film. Guys, as we almost end the conversation, Can you recommend some of the most underrated Kannada films? See, we know Titti, we know Kavaludari, these are not underrated. Okay, Titti also, I think it's one of the most acclaimed Kannada films. It has gotten its due, people have discovered it. What are some of the most underrated, underseen Kannada films that you would want others to watch?
Recent.
Not recent. I think the recent ones are covered, like on Prime, Netflix after OTT. But maybe something from 2000s or the 90s that you think would have benefited had they come out at a time when
You know, Vandu Muttina Kathai was a very underrated.
the original
film.
Rajkumar one.
Yeah,
Okay.
I think that was because it was way ahead of its time, and it's very the subject matter also and how it was shot. I think was I don't think that film is celebrated enough. That film is a jewel on the crown almost for us. It didn't do commercially well. I think if I have been informed correctly. For me, that springs to mind immediately.
Okay.
There are, I think,
See, most of the cult classics now are recognized. So you can't call them underrated.
Okay.
I think right now we can only call underrated as the films which are made by Girish Kasaroli sir, which actually has not reached to the mass yet. Ondu Muttina Kate is still
people have still know about it.
Know about it.
Yeah, there's a huge generation of people who know about it at least.
Probably that time it was underrated. Now people know it. But there are many films which are made by Girish Kasaroli sir. Very it goes towards art cinema. But if you have a taste for it, they're just beautiful. Gulabi Talkies or Nayanarlu, Dweepa.
Dweepa is I feel one of the greatest films ever made.
Oh, wow.
Whosoever has not seen Dweepa should watch Dweepa just to see how, like, what he does in the film. He makes, like, the way the rain sort of comes and covers an entire island. Like, it's like the imagery is very complicated to explain. It's like such a difficult film to make, and it's such a beautiful film. Actually I would change it to Dweepa. For sure.
And what was that? That was a beautiful film. Kanasemba Kudrene.
Kanasemba Kudrene.
I mean, his filmography is just next level.
Superb. I mean, like, I can keep talking to you guys all day, film nerds, but we have to end it here. Thank you very much for your time, guys. All the very best for Side B. Like I said, I think we have spoken enough about Sapta Saagaradaache, and like I told how much I love the film and all. I'm very looking forward to Side B, and hopefully we'll catch up after the release. Thank you very much, guys. All the very best.
Thank you.
Yeah.